So at the time of the fight, I didn't watch it, but I was up and I was listening to Ring IQ Boxing's live. And I was listening to it in and out of being where I was and being involved in what I was involved in. I was out on the night, but I'm a big boxing enthusiast. So I was wondering what was going on. I heard from about round 2 to about round 6 or so, and it sounded like it was going the normal way early fights with Gervonta Davis happens, when the fighter's trying to figure out Tank and Tank's trying to figure out the fighter. It sounded like Lamont Roach was being very patient with his output and looking for the right shots to land. And it sounded like Tank was trying to wait for the mistake to happen to then open up and land his flurries. I'm like, yeah, sounds about right. Probably going to stop him in the ninth. So I just carried on with my night. When I then got in from the night out and I was going on boxing Twitter, I saw all of the arguments of how Lamont Roach got robbed and Gervonta took a knee, and I seen the whole footage of it. He took a knee, ran to the corner. I'm like, what's going on here? That's a disqualification. The cornerman coming up in the middle of a round without the refs say so to do something with the fighter, that's a disqualification. Taking a knee, that's a 10 count. None of those things happened. I'm like, here we go. Another PBC nightmare. I'm sick of the PBC. I haven't gone into it as yet, but I'm going to start going into this now, because the PBC is the main reason why I'm starting to say I hate boxing. It's getting on my nerves. All of these stupid controversial decisions because you don't want your top boy to lose, or you don't want him to have a loss on his record, is stupid. You done it with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury in the first fight. That was a clear Tyson Fury win. You made it a draw. You done it with Rolando Romero, Rolly, and Ishmael Barroso when they had their fight, and Ishmael Barroso dropped him a couple times. He must have dropped Ishmael a couple times. But when the ref finally stopped it and said it was a TKO win for Rolly Romero, Rolly was not landing any punches at the time and Ishmael was in no type of trouble. But you stopped the fight and said it was a TKO just to make sure that Rolly won. There's a lot of others that I can't even be bothered to try and even think about. But there's so many decisions where the fighter was supposed to lose. Look at when Errol Spence fought Dennis Ugas and won a TKO victory. The round or two before that, Dennis staggered him, drop out his gum shield, and he made him recover and let him do whatever he wanted to get his gum shield back and recover and all this type of stuff. It was stupid. It's like Ugas was in on the plot to make sure Errol won the fight. It's a lot of conspiracy stuff that I see, but it's blatant to me. For me, it's blatancy, and I don't stand for it. And it's a lot of cherry picking stuff. This is a cherry pick gone wrong. You lot thought because you lot know Lamont Roach that you'd be able to take him out of there easily because you've done so many rounds. I was of the thinking that you guys thought that because you've done so many rounds against this guy, you know his weaknesses and his strengths, and you know that Tank's got the better of him in the gym, so let's pick him and beat him. That's what I thought that you lot were thinking. But obviously you lot didn't know that basically Lamont Roach didn't get the memo. He didn't read the script. He said, I'm coming there to do my thing. And for me, another thing, the major thing about this fight, because I don't think Tank's not a good fighter. I just think that where iron sharpens iron, he hasn't fought enough iron to improve himself to the level where he can just win without his best trainer in his corner. And Calvin Ford, who is his usual head trainer, was not the man in the corner giving the instructions. It was some other guy that Tank seemed to not really respect. The only time we saw Calvin Ford was when he took the knee and ran to the corner and got his face wiped, because that was Calvin Ford that wiped his face. And then when that round ended and he went to the corner, Calvin Ford was there and he said to him, "You look like you're submitted there, my guy," which was what it looked like. After that and before that, we didn't see Calvin Ford. So for me, Tank was not focused. He kept on looking outside the ring, sticking his tongue out at people. He kept on looking at the ref and talking to the ref. He was having a full-blown conversation in there with Lamont Roach. And obviously, Lamont Roach was obliging and having a conversation back. But Tank was not focused for me. He was not focused how he's supposed to be. And a focused Tank deals with Lamont Roach, in my opinion. I didn't see Lamont Roach be any better than I've usually seen him. I never see him be any better than I usually seen him. I just know that he was definitely switched on and he wasn't going to make any mistakes. He put himself in a position to not make any mistakes. And who does that better than him? Shakur Stevenson. Now, I won't say that because he didn't beat Lamont Roach, he can't beat Shakur Stevenson. That's not how boxing works. But that was the best dress rehearsal, basically, for a Shakur Stevenson. The only thing is that where Lamont Roach is orthodox, Shakur Stevenson is a southpaw like Tank. Now, that may make it easier for Tank to get through and land shots. But the fact is, Shakur Stevenson is even more patient than Lamont Roach. But I believe that he has a better jab than Lamont Roach, but I don't think he has the power that Lamont Roach has. But power doesn't necessarily win you boxing matches. Technique and skills pay the bills. And I believe that Shakur Stevenson has better skills than Lamont Roach. But Lamont Roach, being an orthodox fighter, fighting against Tank as a southpaw, made it more awkward for Tank, because Tank has fought orthodox fighters before, but these guys make mistakes and he capitalizes on the mistakes. Lamont never made no mistakes, and that's the factor what Shakur will bring. He will not make mistakes in the ring, and that's the only comparison that you can really have. But as to say he won't now beat Shakur, I can't say that. That's still a fight I need to see, because I still think Tank is a quality fighter, and if they do get the rematch, I believe Tank wins the rematch by knockout. But still, Tank's got to do it to prove it. Just like how Tank and Shakur have to fight for me to see it, to see if my theory is correct. Because I believe that Shakur would win the fight, but I have to see it to believe it. If you get what I'm saying. That's where I'm coming from. But well done to Lamont Roach. I'm not trying to take anything from Lamont Roach. I just don't think he is at the level where he's supposed to be beating Tank. But Tank will get beaten on the day if he's not focused, and he lost this fight. I was trying to score it round by round. I gave it actually 7 rounds to 5 without the knockdown. If it was a knockdown as well, there would have been 8 rounds to 4, because the knockdown round, I actually gave that round to Tank. Because when he came back from getting his face wiped, he went on a flurry and he started to lamp up Lamont with a few shots. They were toe-to-toe in there in that round. But I think that Tank got the better of the exchanges in that round. So I still gave that round to Tank, because the ref didn't count Tank and mark it as a knockdown. Do you get what I'm saying? But for me, that was a knockdown and a 10-8 round for Roach. But that's not what happened on the day. So I had to class it as to how the round went. And as to how the round went, Tank actually won that round. But that was only 1 of 5 that I personally gave him. But I'm not an official judge, so it doesn't matter what I say. But if the judges gave it a draw, which 2 judges gave it a draw, if that knockdown was classed as it should have been classed, then that would have been a majority win for Lamont Roach, because 1 of the judges gave it to Tank by, I think it was 7-5. So at the end of the day, 2 refs gave it a draw, and if that was a 10-8 round to Lamont as it was supposed to be, then Lamont would have won with a majority decision. So that's the fight. Tank wasn't focused, in my opinion. Lamont Roach took advantage of the situation, but not enough to get the stoppage or to make sure the judges gave him the fight. But at the same time, for me, I believe that under the PBC banner, if you're fighting Tank, you got to nail him to the floor. You might have to go in there with a shotgun to get a win, if you get what I'm saying. So I can understand them not giving it to Lamont Roach on that premise, even though I don't agree with it at all. I do understand it because it is constant. That's what they're consistent with. So well done to Lamont Roach. Hopefully you get the rematch straight away. Boxing Twitter's going mad, right? And I think now Tank has been found out to be the fraud what he is. And to be fair, it's harsh to say he's a fraud, because I do believe there's a good boxer in there somewhere. But he's just not having the fights that he needs to have to make sure that he is labelled as a great or one of the best fighters of his era. Anyway, well done both combatants, and I'll see you guys in the next video.